Are you looking to take your personal finances to the next level? Well, you're in the right place. Welcome to the Monday Money Tip Podcast, presented by I Was Broke, Now I'm Not, with your host, Joseph Sangle.
Well, welcome to the Monday Money Tip Podcast, presented by I Was Broke, Now I'm Not, and Fully Funded Life. My name is Joe Sangle, and as you might see, I am not joined with any co-host today. This is really weird, but many of you know who follow the podcast for quite a while know that Megan Hibbard, my co-host, my normal co-host, well, you saw as the babies were making their appearance here, you saw the bump growing, and a couple times she couldn't even take it. She had to even consume nutrition to feed those two babies, even as we were doing the show. And they were born, and they were born wonderfully and perfectly healthy. They're doing great. In fact, I have a picture I want to show you. Let's show you the picture of them. And so their names are Caleb and Grayson. And I'll let her be able to introduce their middle names and all that stuff and the weights and all the sizes and dimensions. But the big question I wanted to know is, are they identical? Because I have an identical twin, and I just wanted to know if they were identical, but it was very soon apparent that they are not identical. When you're seeing the picture here, you can see one of them has light hair and the other has very dark hair. One of them has dark skin tone, the other has a lighter skin tone. But no matter what, she says when they roll around, no matter how far apart they set them, when she comes in there later, they're both asleep laying right next to each other. And that is cute. I don't care who you are. And so congratulations to Jordan, the dad, and to big brother Logan on their now expanding family. They went from 3 to 5 really fast, and I'm confident their dog Barkley is happy too. But we give very good wishes to them. And I just look at the baby picture, and I've had it on my desk ever since I got that, and I just can't stop looking at it. It's so beautiful. So Megan makes this podcast so much better, and I think we can collectively say we can't wait to have her back. She should be making an appearance here on the podcast sometime in late August. So that's when we're planning for her to re-arrive here. But as it is, I've had co-host here. I've had Chelsea Davis-Hearn, who's our Fully Funded Life Coordinator. I've had Whitney Purcell, who handles the integration of all of our solutions here with our companies. And now I've had my daughter here, but now you just have me. And so I'm fired up about it. And so I told them I'm going off script. We're not following the normal course of things. In fact, I don't even have the big microphone in front of me. In fact, I would encourage you, if you're listening to this, I do encourage you to go back and watch it on YouTube because we're going to show a lot of pictures and stuff as we go through this. But I wanted to first go through a verse, a fired up verse. One of the verses that I'm really working on that I found recently that I love, and it's in Ecclesiastes chapter 7, verse 12. And Ecclesiastes in the Old Testament, written by Solomon. And he says this, I love this. He says, wisdom is a shelter as money is a shelter. Do you see that? He says, wisdom is a shelter as money is a shelter. But the advantage of knowledge is this: wisdom preserves those who has it. That's pretty awesome, isn't it? He's basically saying that money is a shelter. That's what we talk about all the time with rung number 2 of this ladder. I have the ladder right here. And rung number 2 is saving that 1 month's worth of expenses. And rung number 5, that minimum of 3 months worth. Well, he's saying that it's a shelter, just like wisdom is a shelter. But he says the advantage of wisdom, of knowledge, is this: wisdom will preserve those who have it. So money can't preserve you, but when wisdom really can. And so that's one of the new verses I just wanted to share with each of you is, are you gaining financial wisdom on a regular basis? You know, that is what will preserve you when you have crazy times. Like right now, we have inflation. Inflation unlike that which many people have never seen in their lifetime unless they're my age or older. You know, I was kind of born into high inflationary times in the late 70s. But how do you deal with inflationary times? How do you deal with worldwide pandemics? How do you deal with the money supply being like it is, and rising interest rates, and rising prices? Well, wisdom, listening to the show hopefully gives you some wisdom. But I also encourage you to be getting wisdom elsewhere, reading books, going to conferences, continuing to increase your wisdom because it will preserve those who have it. I love that. I also wanted to talk about another thing, and it's a new thought that I'm marinating on. I'm always thinking about new things, and and new things to be able to bring to you guys, new things that can help me. Sometimes I feel like I learned something and I have to go practice it for a long time before I ever share it with anybody. That's the case with oxen. You may hear me talk about oxen a lot and tell you how moving it is and how utterly amazing it is and that it's no bull and, you know, that have you heard of oxen? Do you get my jokes? Can you tell I'm trying to milk it? I know those are all bad jokes, and I do pay good money for good cow jokes. But here's my new thought that I've been marinating on. Now, oxen, I worked on oxen and getting oxen and practicing with oxen for 10 solid years, really, before I ever wrote the book on it, before I ever brought it to you. And now that book's been out nearly 10 years. But here's a new thought I've been marinating on recently. I was on a long road trip. I went to visit my friends in northern Alberta and just had a great time up there. And I was out there, I was sitting at Toronto Airport for 5 hours waiting for a connection. And then I got to drive 5 hours once I got to Edmonton as I went on up to Fort McMurray. And one of the thoughts I was marinating on is about oxen. And here's what I wrote, and this is what I'm thinking on. I want you to think about this, is that oxen are great. They are great. And they can be and are a tremendous blessing. Financial oxen. However, it seems like a lot of times when God's people turned away from him, they fashioned a golden idol. You know, and the time that Moses was gone on the mountain getting the 10 Commandments, by the time he came back, what had they done? They had formed an idol. That's why he threw down the tablets and they broke. You know, and when they fashioned this golden idol, many times, what was it in the form of? Do you know? Anyone know? Well, a lot of times they formed it and fashioned it in the shape of a calf, a golden calf. Well, that's a baby ox. And so the thought that I've been marinating on, and I would encourage everybody who's listening to this podcast who wants to honor the Lord with their finances is, hey, it's great to have an oxen, but don't let it become an idol. Hear me on this. We can get so focused, I can get so focused on getting financial oxen that becomes the main thing instead of saying, what is the purpose of these oxen in the first place? And that's to be able to live the fully funded life that God has for me, that I'm called to live. And at times, if you're not careful, the oxen can take control and start dictating to you what you can do and what you can't do, instead of you being able to dictate to the ox to fund the dream that God's given you. And so I encourage you, make sure that the oxen you get, the oxen you acquire, the oxen you're seeking to acquire, that they don't become an idol. I don't know if that's any good, but I know it's been helpful for me, something that I've been marinating on. And so I encourage you with that. Now, I wanted to bring everybody a tool. I wanted to highlight a tool. And so we're going to go to the full screen here and show you this tool. And this tool is the early payoff calculator. I'm going to demonstrate it. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see this. But I wanted to just show you this early payoff calculator. Short of the budget tool, short of saving for known upcoming non-monthly expenses, those Q expenses, this is my favorite tool. And so when we go to the tool here, you can see this early payoff calculator. You can see that we can type in the interest rate. Maybe we have 4.5%, and we type in the loan balance, and the loan balance is $125,000. This is just an example. And we've been paying $700 principal and interest. Now, if you're using this tool, make sure you take out any escrowed taxes and insurance and PMI. So if you have PMI as part of your payment, if you have your taxes, property taxes, and house insurance included as part of the payment, take that out of this number. Only include your principal and interest payment. You should be able to see that rather quickly when you log in to see your account on your phone or at a laptop or desktop. And it says this person has been paying the payment for about 5 years on a 30-year note. And what I love about this tool is it allows you to answer the question, hey, if I paid an extra amount per month, how much faster would it pay off? How much interest would I avoid paying? And so when we look at this tool, if we just paid $50 extra a month, starting this month and forevermore, every month, adding $50 to our payment, it would knock off 33 months, nearly 3 years, and allow us to avoid paying $10,600 in interest. That's pretty amazing, isn't it? Let's say you paid off a car and you got all the way up to rung number 7 and you've got 15% going to your tax advantage investments, and now any extra dollar can go towards your house, and you've paid off this car, you've used a bunch of it towards your investments in rung number 6, but any extra money can go now to the house, and you had $400 extra dollars you could add. So $400 extra a month. Well, $400 extra dollars literally cuts it in half. From 24.7 months left to 12.4, knocks off 147 months and saves you $43,923 of interest. And let's say in the course of this time you got some pay raises and you were actually able to make double payments, double principal and interest, not double principal interest plus PMI plus insurance plus taxes, but $700 a month. Well, if you're able to do that, that knocks off 15 years and 6 months, 15 and a half years, 186 months, takes you from 24.7 months to 9.1 months, saves you almost $55K in interest. Hey, this tool is located at IWasBrokeNowI'mNot.com under Tools, under Debt. It's also available on FullyFunded.life if you're a Fully Funded Life member. And we have an advanced level tool there for those that are members of Fully Funded Life. But I encourage you, use this tool. It fires me up every time I use it. Hey, it almost makes me want to finance something just so I can pay it off early, get fired up. It is that awesome. So, hey, I encourage you to use that tool. That is great. Now, I also wanted to just kind of go off script today and maybe get you a peek into the world of Joe. And I know it may be summertime and the kids are driving you crazy or the grandkids are really rowdy. I wanted to teach you something that I do with kids, and it's origami. Now, of course, there's YouTube videos that can show this a lot better, but one of the things I like to do is grab a random piece of paper and make a paper crane, a bird. So I'm going to show you how to do that real quick. So we're going to have it right here on the screen. And the first thing you do is you fold it over. You fold it over here and you form it like this. Do you see this? I just folded it over like that. And then you're going to remove this piece of paper. Now you could use scissors. I'm just going to fold it back and forth a couple of times, make there be weakness here along this. And literally, this is something that I've never seen a kid hate this. They've all loved it. Okay, now I have a triangle. I cut off part of the triangle, that's okay. Okay? And then what you do is you take this and you kind of fold it in half like this. And then you open it up. See, it's kind of like that. Do you see that? And then you fold these in. The open end is here. Do you see the open end is here? And you kind of fold in this triangle edges, the ends, you fold them in, and you're going to kind of make it into a square. It's kind of a square here. See that? It's kind of a square. And then this is the trick. This is one of the tricks, okay? You open it back up, and you did that to make lines, and now what you're going to do is you're going to open it up and fold this in to itself and make the square where those triangles are inside of the square. So we're going to do that for each side. Okay? And so we now have that in there, and now I have a square, and it should kind of look like this. Do you see that? I'm just trying to show it to the camera. And now what we're going to do is make what I call a kite. So you look at the open ends, not the closed folded ends, but the open ends, and you're going to fold them in and make a kite. So you fold them in, line them up with the line. There's one other big trick here after we get done with this part. We're going to fold it in here. We're making a kite. See, we're completely off the rails, but this is cheap summer fun right here. See, I've got a kite. Doesn't it look like a kite? And now what we're going to do is kind of fold this back and forth a couple times. That's going to matter so that the bird can flap his wings, the paper crane can. And now here's the big trick. We're going to open this back up while it's laying here, and we're going to invert it again. We're going to fold it open. Do you see that? It was like this. Now I'm going to open this up, and I'm going to pull it to line up at the top of the kite. Okay? I don't know if that's clear or okay, but the good news is if you're watching on YouTube, you can pause it and look at it as many times as you want. And you do the same to the other side. And now we are literally just seconds away from having a paper crane. Okay? So now you have that. Now you just fold it, those two sides. And now you fold up the wing on one side and you fold up the wing on the other side. And what I do is I like to fold this guy's little head out here, right here, and I'm going to put an eye on him so that it looks good. And then you just I kind of curl the wing on my finger. Do you see this? I'm curling this. Isn't this awesome? And then you grip him right here and he flaps. Isn't that awesome? You see that? And a lot of times then I'll take this piece of paper, make 4 or 5 baby cranes and give them to the kids. And kids a lot of times have a problem, they kind of pull it like this. They don't know how to pull it out. And they also don't know how to grip him right here. So I actually will put a staple right here in his breast area. And that's pretty cool. Is that cool? Okay, that's a paper crane. That's Craft Time with Joe. And that costs $0. And I bet you have a bunch of mail that's just trash mail. And you can make paper cranes. People make stringers of these. If you've ever been to Pearl Harbor Memorial, you'll see strings of these that people use these in memoriam for people and as they were thinking of people. And so I encourage you. That's a fun little habit or craft you can do. Another thing that I wanted to encourage you to do is you can make butter from heavy whipping cream. Now, this is a great thing that costs almost no money that will exhaust your children, okay? Now, you need to get a totally sealable container. Fill it with heavy whipping cream and get the kids to shaking. And they need to shake and shake and shake and shake and shake and shake. I will tell you, it will exhaust them. They will hate this thing after a while, but they will love the end result. And as you shake it and shake it and shake it, you're going to see it. It's going to get really stiff. It's going to become whipped cream, really. And they're going to keep shaking and keep shaking. And all of a sudden, you're going to see it start to form butter curds. Like it's going to start curdling out of it. And all of a sudden, I add a little bit of hot water to it. And all of a sudden, it will totally turn into buttermilk and butter. And you will have fresh butter and put a little salt in it. You can mold it. You can put it in some silicone molds that you can buy for chocolate or butter. You can buy on Amazon, have it delivered in 31 minutes probably for less than $5, $9. And so I encourage you to make butter from heavy whipping cream. It has several benefits. It's fresh butter. It's delicious on toast. And it will exhaust your children, which is great. And it costs almost nothing. In my third thing of fun things to do at home with kids and save money is I encourage you to raise birdhouse gourds. Now I'm going to show some pictures here of what I've done at my house. But I raise birdhouse gourds just for fun. And I live in South Carolina, but these can grow all over the United States as long as you water them. You may have to start them indoors if you live in zone 4 or higher. You probably have to start them indoors to get good gourds, maybe 1 month early. But these plants, you can't hardly kill them. They grow amazing. And every vine will produce 6, 7, 8 gourds. And we use these gourds and then we set them out in the fall and they dry. I just turn them over every couple days. I leave them out. I set them on top of my chicken coop, on top of a trailer. I don't care if the wind blows them off. I'll just pick them back up. And I'll give them a shake, which gets the seeds loosening up in it, and they will dry very good. And these have been used for water bottles for millennia. But I use them for birdhouses. And so I'm going to show some pictures here, but I use this as a project with my 8-year-old. And we sand them. We put them in water and soak them and sand them down to get the outer skirting off of them after they've dried. And then we paint them with primer paint. And then we paint them with colors and we turn them into beautiful birdhouses. And then I put a sealant, an exterior sealant over them. I do 2 coats of the sealant and it is beautiful. And we actually sell them. And so she uses this as money that's going to go to her college or to fund a little dream that she has. So it's a great thing to do with your children. It's a lot of fun. When the pandemic started out, I just sent out notice to everyone around town. I mean, I only had like 6, 7 vines and I had like 80 of these things. And I said, hey, does anybody want to have activity for the kids? I'll just put them in the ditch that way down at the front of the house so there's no contact or anything. And so I had tons and tons of family take them away and collected over 50 of them. And they had this great task to do with their kids. And so it's cheap, it's fun, it gets kids outdoor, teaches them about growing things and nurturing things. So I encourage you to do that. Now, I wanted to talk about a couple other things in my rambling podcast episode here, the Monday Money Tip. I wanted to talk about the powerful emotions that come around money. And one of them these emotions that I wanted to address today is the emotion. Now, I know this is a crazy transition, so I just want to pause for a minute and get you ready for this, guard your heart. But we're going to talk about an emotion that you may have felt with money. It's called shame. And shame is a really powerful emotion, particularly money shame. I've seen this so many times when I'm coaching people that they are ashamed of where they're at. They're ashamed of decisions they've made. But I just want to acknowledge that shame is real, that shame is powerful. I also want to acknowledge that shame can be paralyzing. It can actually cause you to seize up. But more than anything today, I wanted you to know that shame is a liar. Fundamentally, I just want you to know this. Every human being has made money decisions that they later regretted. Every one of us. I have, you have, every human on the planet in existence now or before now, and anyone that comes after us has experienced a money decision that they regret. Unfortunately, some allow it to birth shame. And they're unwilling to tell others, they're unwilling to get help, and as a result, it paralyzes them, and it makes them believe that they can't ever win with money, that they can't ever go back, and therefore they just can't make progress. And so I just wanted to share this as I was writing down all these random thoughts of things that I wanted to share, is I wanted you to know that shame is not something you can wave a magic wand and make it go away. It requires focused effort. And sometimes shame pops up at the weirdest times. It can pop up when your kid asks for something and you've made a money decision that prevents you from doing that for your children, and here comes shame. Saying, look at you, you're an idiot. Now you can't do that for your kids. Now your kids think you're an idiot. And what will your kids' friends, parents think? And I would just say, you have to daily make a choice to say, I've made mistakes, I am human, I'm going to learn from them and grow from them and move forward. I think one of the things that is the secret sauce of I was broke, now I'm not, and fully funded life, and this calling that we have, is that we are focused on encouragement. I've heard some financial teachers who give great knowledge, but they might be pretty convicting or condemning, or they might treat people with some level of hazard and disregard for their feelings. I want you to know the feelings are real, acknowledge them, but call it what it is. It is a liar. Shame is a liar. Don't let past mistakes define you for the future. And it really leads me to my passion about why I do this. And I thought it'd be helpful to just remind everybody in the podcast about why we're so passionate, why I'm so passionate about helping people win with their money and live a fully funded life. Here's why. I wrote down these thoughts so I wouldn't miss them. The first thing is, I know what it's like to be struggling. I've been there. I know what it feels like. It's horrible, but it's real. I also know what it's like to finally achieve stability. For me, it happened in 2002, late December. My bank account was still the same, but I got knowledge, financial knowledge. And in that moment, while the bank account still said I was struggling, I knew I was on my way to stability because I had knowledge that I had lacked before. Knowledge of truly how to do a budget that actually worked, knowledge of how to say no to myself, and implement safeguards so I wouldn't trip back into old financial habits. And then, the one reason I'm so passionate is I know what it's like to achieve surplus. And surplus is not great just because you have surplus. It's because of what it allows you to do. And I've learned that surplus does not change who you are at any level. It only enhances or amplifies or puts a microphone to who you already were. And so I encourage you to work on the inside so that when you get the surplus, that you are amplifying what you know to be good and true about yourself. Another reason why I'm so passionate about it is I love seeing you achieve your lifelong dream, your lifetime dreams. There's nothing greater to me. I love hearing that people became debt-free, but I always say, what does this allow you to do now? And when they get to share their why, well, that's when they really light up in their soul. and that fires me up. I've got 7 reasons why I'm so passionate. A 5th one is that mismanaged finances, well, that stands between many people's ability to achieve their God-given dreams. And it doesn't have to be that way. And I'm here to say kindly, wake up, and you can do this. Here's some practical ways you can make these principles come to truth in your life so that you can start achieving your dreams. And it's never too late. The 6th reason is that winning with money, it's easier than most people believe. It really is. I just remember for me, I was like, it's really this easy? How come I didn't know this 10 years ago? There's others saying, it's so easy, I can't believe I didn't know this 30 years ago. But no matter what, when you have that moment of enlightening where you realize, hey, I can do this for real, and you have that roadmap, man, it's awesome. And I'll wrap it up by saying, well, I'm so passionate about this because I believe everyone, yes, including you, yes, including your broke brother-in-law, I believe everybody can win with their money, every single person. And so that's my passion, is to help you do that. My final thing that I would say is wrapping up this weird episode of the podcast, and I acknowledge it's weird. I would love for you to share what your favorite part of this weirdest podcast was, including making paper cranes. Is I want to conclude with poetry. I haven't won any Nobel Prize for poetry, but it might rhyme. And so I'm gonna read this poetry that I wrote several weeks ago. I hope it's good. You ready? I'm going to ask whoever produces this, put some light poetry music behind it. That'll be awesome. But here we go. Poetry by Joe. I want to win with money. I'm tired of being broke. All I do is fight with my honey. That's no joke. It's time to invest, grow that balance sheet, receive an abundant harvest so I can bless all I meet. I want to win with money, see my dreams come true, so I can enjoy time with my honey. That's what I want to do. It's time to save, put some back, make my money behave, build that stack. I want to win with money because I am not the owner, so I can honor my honey, ensure I don't do this as a loner. It's time to give, blessing others in need. It is the best way to live. Live to give is my creed. I want to win with money, leave an inheritance, enjoy this life with my honey, viewing life as a beautiful dance. And so I'll sign off by saying, that's poetry by me. Hey, if you could write some poetry about your money journey, what would you write? Share it in the comments, email it to us. We would love to read your poetry in an upcoming show. But hey, as always, we're committed to help you live a fully funded life. I hope you enjoyed this as much as I did. It was a lot of fun. And I'll see you next time and next week, next Monday, with another Right Now Relevant podcast to help you win with your money and be able to live your fully funded life. Have a great week, everybody.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of the Monday Money Tip Podcast, presented by I Was Broke, Now I'm Not. If you enjoyed today's episode, please leave a review and subscribe. And for more great content and to stay up to date, visit iwbnin.com. We'll catch you next time.